Antarctica is no longer just a scientific park, it has become the world's most valuable frozen vault. While headlines focus on melting ice, the strategic reality is shifting toward scarcity. The continent holds 60% of Earth's fresh water locked in ice, a resource that will define power dynamics as climate change accelerates. We are witnessing a silent transition from cooperative science to realpolitik competition. China has already declared its intent to be a polar great power by 2030, expanding its footprint faster than any other nation, while the U.S. is effectively retreating due to logistical paralysis and outdated policy. The discovery of why Antarctica froze millions of years ago isn't just climate history, it confirms that this ice sheet is a permanent geological asset. Once water becomes scarce enough to drive prices past $200 per barrel equivalent in value, the legal ban on mining will be tested by states seeking access rights before any physical conflict occurs. The scientific discovery regarding why Antarctica froze millions of years ago serves as more than just an explanation for ancient climate patterns. It validates that the continent is a finite, non-renewable strategic asset rather than a temporary ice field. For decades, the international narrative has treated the Southern Pole as a shared laboratory where nations compete only in academic prestige. However, understanding the geological permanence of this frozen mass changes the incentive structure entirely. It confirms that the water locked within these sheets is not merely climate data to be studied, but a critical supply chain node for future survival. As global populations grow and freshwater sources become increasingly volatile due to droughts and contamination, the ability to access liquid fresh water will become as vital as oil was in the 20th century. This discovery shifts the perspective from viewing Antarctica as a place of scientific observation to recognizing it as a reservoir that dictates national security interests. The question is no longer whether we can study the ice, but who controls the key to unlocking its contents when scarcity forces their hand. Quick resource note: I keep a curated set of Amazon search links in the description for books, gear, and tools relevant to this channel's topics. Some are affiliate links, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Please consider supporting the channel by using those links if you find something useful. This shift in incentives has already triggered an aggressive expansion by Beijing, which views polar dominance as essential for 21st century great power status. China has explicitly declared its goal to become a polar great power by 2030, despite being located roughly 1,400 kilometers south of the actual Arctic Circle and even further from Antarctica itself. This ambition is not rhetorical, it is operationalizing through rapid infrastructure development on the ice. As of February 2024, China operates 5 research stations in Antarctica, a number that places them fourth globally behind Argentina, Chile, and Russia, yet represents the fastest growth rate among major powers since opening 3 new facilities after 2009. The construction of their newest kindling station was not merely an academic upgrade, but a demonstration of logistical capacity to sustain long-term presence in some of the harshest environments on Earth. The nature of this expansion reveals that these stations serve dual purposes, functioning as both scientific outposts and potential forward operating bases for future resource extraction or strategic monitoring. China utilizes oceanographic surveys and acoustic modeling at their polar facilities identical to those used for military operations in the South China Sea. Their strategy extends beyond Antarctica. They have established 2 permanent research stations in the Arctic region, one on Svalbard, Norway, and another in Iceland, along with a 3rd facility in Sweden that remains under scrutiny for suspected ties to the People's Liberation Army Navy. This coordinated approach allows Beijing to bypass Western roadblocks by establishing partnerships with Russia and building a network of nodes across both poles simultaneously. The implication is clear. China is treating polar regions as strategic corridors where presence equals leverage, preparing the physical infrastructure required to claim access rights before any formal legal challenges can be mounted. In stark contrast, the United States appears to be ceding ground due to internal logistical failures rather than a deliberate choice of strategy. While Beijing accelerates its footprint, Washington is paralyzed by outdated planning and funding shortfalls that prevent it from maintaining even current levels of operational capacity. The National Science Foundation has recently suspended new fieldwork for the upcoming season and plans to operate only 1 research vessel indefinitely, down from 2 previously available assets. Furthermore, the The Coast Guard's Polar Security Cutter program faces heavy delays and rebaselining in 2024, leaving a gap in naval presence that was once critical for enforcing U.S. interests. Compounding this operational retreat is a policy vacuum. The current national strategy dates back to the 1980s under Presidential Decision Directive 26, whereas China updated its oversight framework from the State Oceanic Administration to the Ministry of Natural Resources in 2018 to better align with modern strategic needs. This stagnation creates a dangerous asymmetry where one superpower is actively building capacity while the other struggles to maintain basic logistical support for existing missions. Despite these geopolitical maneuvers, commercial extraction remains legally impossible under the Antarctic Treaty System, which bans all mining south of 60 degrees latitude. A geologist estimated in 2018 that oil prices would need to exceed $200 per barrel for extraction to be viable economically, since the highest recorded price was approximately $150 during the 2008 crisis. No commercial entity has moved forward with large-scale operations. This economic barrier keeps the resource locked but legally contested, creating a ticking clock rather than an immediate explosion of conflict. However, as climate change drives global freshwater scarcity higher, the value of this water will inevitably rise past that threshold, rendering the current legal ban obsolete in the eyes of any state facing existential supply shortages. The next great power conflict over Antarctica will not start with missiles or invasions, but with disputes over who gets to drill when water runs out, and the economic incentives finally override the treaty constraints. The strategic reality is that we are witnessing a silent transition from cooperative science to realpolitik competition, where access rights are being claimed through physical presence before any physical conflict occurs. The scientific discovery of why Antarctica froze millions of years ago validates that this ice sheet is a permanent geological asset, transforming the continent from a shared laboratory into a future supply chain node for fresh water and minerals. As states like China expand their infrastructure with military-grade precision and Washington retreats due to bureaucratic inertia, the window for maintaining the status quo closes rapidly. The question of who controls the world's largest freshwater reserve will soon determine which nations hold the leverage in an era defined by resource scarcity rather than ideological division. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.